No, it's just like this. That one's good. Okay. Alright. So grab a strap for this sequence, strap or a belt or a t-shirt, just like rolled up to make some like piece of fabric that you can like pull on. You might not need it, but just have it in case. So I don't know if everybody has a strap or a belt, but hopefully everybody has some sort of t-shirt or rag or something we can use. We're doing shoulder stuff today, but that really means the whole like chest, upper back, neck. I've been doing this kind of sequence for the past week because I tweaked my neck, crashing the mountain bike, having too much fun, and it really is helping the whole neck down the back area. So even if you don't have any discomfort, and really juicy, especially if you punch a lot, it feels really good. I will just post my website in the chat if you're interested. Hopefully by now you have your strap or something, and we'll go ahead and get started by lying down in Shavasana on your back. That's comfortable. And so maybe you enjoy shoulder stretches. Are you very flexible in the shoulders? And that's great. For many of us, shoulder work is kind of uncomfortable. So here in this practice this morning, I really want to ask you to listen to your body and to do the stretch to what you need. I'll be giving options and cues, but listen to your body and try to get a nice, uncomfortable stretch in the shoulders, because sometimes you can feel uncomfortable, but stop if you feel any pain, if you feel any pinching or burning, so stop if it becomes painful. Okay, and with that, coming down onto your backs. Start tuning into your breath. Just notice. Notice your breath this morning here. Notice if it's in the belly or in the chest. And then just notice what's going on in your mind. You're focused on one thing, or you just have like a running list through your head. Any of it is fine. Whatever comes up, whatever you're thinking about, dwelling on, worried about another person. Just notice it. And a lot of times once we notice what we're thinking about, our thoughts become less aggressive as we observe them. And see if you can just notice your breath a little bit more. We're going to start with some Ujjayi breath, something to focus on through this practice. So starting with a big belly breath in, fill up the belly into the chest, fill all the way up to the collarbones, take an extra sip at the top, and then open the mouth and let it go. Sigh it out. We'll do another 2 just like that. Breathing in fully through the nose if you can. Belly, chest, all the way up. Open the mouth, sigh it out. One more like that. Maybe place your hand on your belly or your chest to really feel the expansion as you fill up. All the way up, inhaling. Open the mouth, let it go. And on this next breath, see if you can keep that sigh. As you sigh, you're fogging, almost like you would fog a mirror, right, in front of your face. As you sigh it out, see if you can close your mouth halfway through the exhale and keep that constriction in the throat. Inhaling fully. Open the mouth to start the exhale. Close it halfway. Keeping that sound in the back of the throat, your Ujjayi breath. Try to take big belly breaths in, keeping that constriction on the exhale in the throat. Feeling the breath. Some people like this Ujjayi breath for its building heat capabilities or warmth in the body. Other times it's a good focal point for really noticing and consciously breathing in your yoga practice. And other times in stretches, when you're holding stretches, I kind of like it because it's kind of almost aggressive. Like you're letting something out on that exhale, right? We'll see how it goes. Start wriggling the fingers and the toes here. Plant the soles of your feet behind your hips. When you're ready, maybe hug them in for one little stretch here. Rolling side to side. And then plant the soles of your feet behind your hips. In line with your hips, if that's comfortable, and just notice where your natural placement of your feet is. If your toes are in or out, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Just notice the natural placement of your feet. And then start bringing your arms up, reaching towards the ceiling, over your face, and really reach those hands as high as you can, maybe lifting your shoulders off the ground. And then link your thumbs together and spread those fingers apart. So just linking at the thumbs and spreading and fanning the rest of your fingers out and away from that center thumb. And start reaching that up to the ceiling and then letting those arms start to reach back overhead. Keep reaching forward and overhead. If your hands touch the ground behind you, that's fine. If they don't touch the ground behind you, that's also fine. Wherever you are, start reaching those fingers, spreading those fingers actively away from each other, creating tension on your thumbs, but keeping that grip, finding the balance of holding it and adding some tension on the thumbs, and start spinning your elbows to the ceiling as you pull your arms apart and pull them in. So we're doing both opposites here. But the main point here is that your arms are active. So your muscles are working in the arms. And then while we're here, keeping your arms overhead, bring your knees up up over your hips to hip height. And reach your feet away from your knees, making your shins parallel to the ground. To reverse or tabletop on your back, supine tabletop position here. And then you can point your toes. And then we're going to do a few toe taps, engaging the abdominal muscles, the core here. So start drawing that belly button down towards your spine. Keep your arms active, reaching those fingers away from each other. And then go ahead and keeping that shape with the legs, tap your toes down to the ground, and then bring them back. We'll do 3 more like this. Exhale all the way down, inhale all the way up. Keeping those arms active. 2 more like this. Last one. Exhale and inhale. And then just plant the soles of your feet back behind your hips and start reaching those arms so much that they come back up towards the ceiling over your face, and switch the cross of your thumbs. So whatever thumb was on top, put it on the bottom now. It should just be like the awkward grip. So normally will be the one that feels natural. And so now we'll do the awkward grip. Same thing here, reaching those arms up, spreading those fingers, having some tension on those thumbs as you reach those hands back and overhead. Any amount. Remember, they never have to touch the ground. Reaching those arms away from your head and drawing those upper arms in towards your ears. And then we're going to add the legs. So inhaling your knees over your hips, engaging through the calves to bring your legs to a 90-degree angle over your hips, pointing the toes here, engaging the abdominals, drawing your belly button down towards the mat, engaging through the arms. See if you can feel some engagement through the shoulders now. And then let's do a couple toe taps, right? Reaching those toes down to the ground, keeping the shape with your legs, and then bring them back up. Inhale all the way up. 3 more like that. Exhale down. Inhale. Exhale down. Inhale up. Keep reaching those arms, tension against the fingers. 2 more. Last one. See if you can find your Ujjayi breath again. And then release the soles of your feet back behind your hips. And start reaching so much through the arms that you can bring them up overhead. Reaching the fingertips to the sky. And then release your thumbs. And maybe draw some circles with your arms, sweeping your arms down towards the ground and then down towards your hips. And then back up to the sky. Overhead, reaching down towards the ground, down by your hips, and then back overhead. Just loosening it all up. And then when you're ready, bring your hands back to your legs. Draw those knees in towards your chest. Rocking side to side for a moment here. And then start rocking back and forth. We're going to come up to a seated position here. Easy seated pose. If cross-legged is comfortable for you, if you want to cross at the shins, stack on your knees and ankles, you can, or just cross at the ankles, whatever is comfortable for you. We're going to just do a gentle twist here. If you lost your Ujjayi breath, can you find it again? So here, sitting up tall, bringing your hands to your knees. You can sit up on a block or something if that's more comfortable for you, if you have that accessible. I didn't tell you to have anything. I apologize for that. Hands on your knees here, sitting up tall, maybe leaning back slightly so that your shoulders are above your hips, and finding a long line here. Shoulders above hips, spine long, looking forward, and see if you can just let your head be in line with the rest of your spine. And then sweep the arms out and then up overhead. And then here, while they're overhead, we're going to do what we normally don't do in yoga, which is reach those shoulders up to your ears. See if you can touch your upper arms to your ears because you're reaching up so much. See how much the difference can make. And then maybe spin your palms forward and just widen across those shoulder blades, but keeping your arms where they are. So never sinking those arms down. Reaching them up, touching your shoulders to your ears, and then just widen through the shoulders. Finding that place, reaching up, and then turning towards the right, and let your left hand touch your right knee, and then reach that right arm back behind you. Gentle twist here. You can add any amount of twist here. Maybe drawing the belly button towards the spine here to find that twist from within. Your arms are just there to add a little bit of weight. Inhaling to lengthen the spine and exhaling to twist. Finding that constriction in the back of the throat on the exhales, focal point. And then as you're ready, look forward, bring your arms back up overhead. Let your torso come back through center. You can bring your hands to your knees for a second and just switch the cross of your legs. Awkward leg in front. Coming back through center, stacking those shoulders over your hips, and then reach your arms out and up overhead again. Reaching so high. I know it feels so wrong in yoga if you're used to the normal, to certain styles of yoga, reaching those arms up, touching those shoulders to your ears. And then this time, can you spin your palms back and widen through the shoulders that way, right? So never letting your hands drop, just widen. And you can widen your arms as well as you widen through the shoulders, keeping your hands where they are, and then start looking to the left. Bring your right hand to your left knee and drop that left hand back behind you. Gentle twist here. Maybe drawing that belly button in so you can find the internal levers, your muscles, to let you into this twist. Inhaling to find length, sit up. And exhale to twist. Maybe looking over towards the left, or just keeping your head in line with the rest of your torso, whatever is comfortable with your neck. Finding that Ujjayi breath, big belly breath in. Whisper in the back of the throat, exhale. One more here. And your next inhale, go ahead and look forward and start to reach your arms up and overhead towards the front. And then let your hands, palms fall. We're going to roll over into tabletop position, all fours, hands and knees, whatever you want to call it. And take the shape that's comfortable for you. If you like to have your knees slightly wider than hips width distance, you can have your hands slightly wider than hips width or shoulder width distance. Really just play around and see what feels good. And then the only thing I'll ask you here is to have a long spine, reaching your tailbone away from your head, engaging the abdominals slightly to have a long spine here. And then spin your fingers out towards the side, any amount. If you want to spin them all the way out, that's fine, or just angle them slightly out so your thumbs are facing forward and the rest of your fingers are fanning out. And just make sure you're spreading your fingers here and pressing your fingers into the mat. See how that rotation of the hands translates through the arms. You can do it a few times if you want to turn your hands forward and then just spin those fingers out and see what it does to your arms. See if it broadens your chest here through the collarbones. And in this position, we're just going to go through a few cat-cows. So starting with a long spine, and then inhale, start to drop your belly down as you reach your chest through your arms, looking forward. Big inhale. And then as you exhale, press the ground away and round your back here. Squeeze the air out. Inhaling chest forward, reaching, expanding. And then exhale, rounding, pressing away, squeezing that air out. 2 more like this. Inhaling through cow, chest forward. And exhaling through cat, rounding to the sky. Last one. Finding that Ujjayi breath again. Inhaling, expanding, and then exhaling, squeezing it out. Ujjayi, exhale. Whisper in the back of the throat. And coming back through center. You can bring your toes to touch, knees apart, or keep your feet and knees about hip distance, whatever feels good for you in child's pose. As we start to sit our hips back towards our heels, keeping your chest lifted until you get your hips back as far as you can, maybe touching the heels. And then once you're there, you can start reaching your fingers forward, letting your chest lay down over your legs. Maybe you can touch your head down to the ground, your forehead can touch. And here, maybe spin your fingers out slightly, maybe not so much as we did in the tabletop position, but just a little bit out. And then reach your hands about mat width distance so that the edges of your pinky fingers are on the edges of your mat. So just like, or the tips of your pinky fingers on the edge of your mat. Here, pressing into your hands, start drawing your elbows towards each other so that your elbow pits are starting to spin towards the ceiling, and then your elbow is reaching down to the ground. And so throughout this practice, we're going to work on our hands spun out slightly, any amount, and our shoulders to be up further towards our ears than normal. So it's okay if they feel like they're reaching towards your ears. And then just let's see if you can widen them as you activate through the arm. Widen through your shoulders without dropping your shoulders. And then look forward at your hands and tuck your toes. Start to reach your hips up and back to downward facing dog. And reverse V here. And then maybe walk your feet out slightly so that they're about shoulder width distance or mat width distance. And then just notice where your feet are, if your heels are spinning in or spinning out. See if you can keep your heels in line with your second toe so that your feet are parallel with each other. And if that's not comfortable, that's fine. But just for the sake of your back, seeing how that feels. And then maybe spinning your fingers out just a little bit more. See if your ring finger can touch the edge of your mat here. And then engage through the arms, press the mat away, and let your shoulders touch your ears as you press the mat away actively. And then see as you spin your elbow pits towards the sky, if you can just keep that length and just widen, broaden across the shoulders. Bending your knees slightly here. Can you get your hips any higher to the sky?
And then engage through the legs, straightening any amount, keeping a generous bend in our first downward facing dog here. One more breath here, letting your head hang heavy. Finding that Ujjayi breath. And then start walking your hands back down to your feet. Slowly walking it in. Keeping your feet as wide as you want. You can walk them in to be hips width distance if you'd like, or mats width distance. Seeing if you can have them parallel. And as always, if that's not comfortable, if that doesn't work for your body, you can take whatever foot position feels right. And staying here in this forward fold, bending in the knees to get the belly on the thighs. And then maybe grabbing opposite elbows here for a ragdoll pose. Starting with very bent knees to get the belly laying down all over the thighs, letting those arms hang. And as those arms, the weight of the arms pull your torso forward, you can start activating through the legs to work on straightening the legs any amount. They never need to be straight completely, but activate, engage through those legs. Letting your arms hang here, letting your head hang heavy, maybe shaking your head yes and no. And then switch the cross of your arms in a more awkward way. Feels really awkward when you're used to crossing them one way, right? And just grabbing those upper arms. And maybe seeing if you can grab further up your upper arms. Trying to grab those triceps or the outer upper arms. Letting your head hang and activating through those legs. Shaking your head yes and no. Breathing here. Finding that Ujjayi breath. Big belly breath in. Whispering through the nose on the exhale. And then release your hands to the ground. We're going to come up to a half lift, bringing the chest forward. You can bring your fingertips to your shins for a moment here and engaging through the legs. We're going to be here for a moment. So finding a place where you feel active and stable through the legs and the torso. Having a long spine, reaching your head away from your tailbone. Think about our tabletop position. And then bring your hands to your hips or your waist here. And start reaching those elbows up to the sky. So keeping a long spine here, we don't want to arch into our cow pose. Keeping a long spine, see if you can reach those shoulders up to the ceiling and back, up and back. Holding here, active through the legs, active through the arms and shoulders. Keeping your hands on your hips by the sides. You're not trying not to spin your hands to the back of your hips. Keeping your hand on the side of the hips. And the action comes from the shoulders, from actively pulling your elbows up and back. And then go ahead and come all the way up to standing. Go ahead and look at the front of your mat and take a little walk up to the front of your mat. Standing tall here. Feet can be hips width distance or toes touch, whatever's comfortable for you. Stamping down through the feet. Engaging through the legs. Releasing your butt muscles slightly so that you can draw those hip bones towards your low ribs and expand through the chest, reaching that sternum to the sky. And see what happens as you broaden your shoulders without dropping them. So broaden across your shoulders without rolling them down your back. Just broaden. And then reach your hands down towards your side. This is Tadasana. our mountain standing pose. Keeping your body where it is, just sweep your arms out and up overhead. And we'll do it just like we did seated, reaching those hands, fingers as high as you can. See if you can touch the ceiling. And then you can stretch the shoulders all the way up to touch your ears. And then see if you can spin your palms forward and just broaden across those shoulders without dropping those shoulders down. Just broaden across the shoulders. And then you can turn your palms back to face each other for your Urdhva Hastasana, or standing with arms overhead. Finding that lift and length through the shoulders and just widening them, right? That's, if you haven't caught on, this is one of the main themes we're going to be working with. And then go ahead and let your arms sweep out to the side, bending at your knees slightly to come into a forward fold. Coming back up to our half lift, fingertips to shins, and then planting your hands onto the ground, step your feet back to a plank position. Plank here, knees up or down, spinning those fingers slightly out and as wide as mat width distance. Excuse me. Knees up or down, holding your plank here. And see if you can lengthen through the shoulders, but try to keep a flat across your shoulder blades. So not pressing so much into your arms that you're rounding the upper back, and not relaxing so much in the shoulders that you're arching through that upper back. So find a place where you feel straight across your shoulders, finding length across the collarbones and across the shoulder blades, the front and back of your shoulders. Breathing here. And then if you want to come down to a half push-up, or if you want to come into a chaturanga, shifting your weight forward and bending your elbows back, brushing against your ribs, and then come all the way down, bring your belly down to the ground. You can shift back if you want your face not to touch the ground, whatever is comfortable for you. And then maybe walking those fingers and your hands back so that your fingertips are in line with your nipples. And start reaching those elbows together behind your back. Reaching those elbows behind your back. And see what happens if you naturally want to reach those elbows back and draw those shoulders away from your ears. See if you can come back through center. So if your shoulders start reaching back too much, release some of that work and let your shoulders come back to the normal placement. And then start reaching your elbows towards each other so that your shoulders come up instead of back. Finding this work here, pressing the tops of your feet into the ground, engaging through the abdominals. See if you can bring your belly off the ground. And then start peeling your chest up on your inhale for your low cobra. So reaching those elbows and those shoulders up towards the ceiling and together. Try not to let your shoulders drop back too much. So you might not be as high as your chest as it could be in this position if you were to drop your shoulders. Totally fine, a different way of working this. Breathe one more breath, inhale here, and then exhale, release your head down to the ground. Release your arms to the side here, down by your hips. And then start pressing your hips and the tops of your feet into the ground. And reach your hands back behind your hips and hook your thumbs like we did on our backs. And I'm going to do it on our fronts. Hooking the thumbs and spreading the rest of the fingers out to the side. See if you can, wherever your shoulders naturally are without working the muscles, can you keep them that level with your head? And then just start, as you start pressing your thumbs into each other, Just drawing those shoulders up towards the ceiling, but not necessarily back towards your hips. Just up to the ceiling as you start pressing your thumbs into each other. Let the shoulders come off the ground. Maybe your hands lift up off your hips. Keep a slight bend in the elbows here though, using this active stretch here, using the muscles to find this stretch. And then start to lift your chest off the ground. Coming into locust here, variation, maybe reaching your feet off the ground, hovering on your hips, feeling like a locust, hungry for grain, reaching those shoulders up, those hands up, spreading the fingers. One more breath here. And then exhale, release your head down, your feet down, your shoulders down. And then switch the cross of your thumbs down the upward way. Pressing the pads of your thumbs into each other, pulling them into each other, spreading the fingers wide here. Starting with the arms, pressing your feet in the ground, keeping them there. And then start with the shoulders, pressing your thumbs into each other, keeping the shoulders level with your ears and your face where they naturally are. And then just see as you engage through the arms, can you draw your shoulders up to the ceiling, not back towards your hips? Maybe keeping elbows bent, you can reach those thumbs towards the sky, any amount. And then as you're ready, maybe inhaling to peel your chest up. Maybe inhale your legs up. Finding your locust position again. Did you lose your Ujjayi breath? Find it again. Big belly breath in. Exhaling with that whisper. This kind of pose that I like the aggressiveness of the Ujjayi breath. Letting out some of that tension. One more breath here. And then release it all down. Release your thumbs. Let your hands flop to the sides. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders. You can always press down into back child's pose. Or if you want more active, we're going to press up into plank, starting with the legs. So tucking the toes under, engaging with the legs, pop your leg and your knees off the ground, drawing your abdomen in, and start pressing your hands into that so much that you come up into a plank position. And then shift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. Lots of cracks. And then widen your hands and spin your fingers out to the sides. Very cracky, isn't it? All right, breathing here with your downward dog. If you want to widen your feet stance, go for it. If you want to narrow your feet stance, go for it. But actively press into your hands and let your elbows reach up to your ears and then widen. Trying not to let those shoulders fall towards your hips. Widen. Not dropping. One more breath here. Find your Ujjayi breath. And then look forward at your hands. And you can come up to your toe tips, reaching those hips up high, bending at the knees, looking in between your hands, and step walk or jump your feet to your hands. You're gonna come up for a half lift here, reaching your hands to your hips and drawing those elbows up, keeping along the spine. See, it feels easier this time around. And then come all the way up to standing. We're going to left foot out to the left here, but you could come to whatever side is comfortable. We're just going to come to a wide-legged stance here, however wide you want. And however parallel your feet are, just let them come in slightly, so you don't want your toes pointing out and your heels in. So parallel your feet any amount, so that your hips are facing forward, your knees are facing forward, and your toes are facing forward. Everything is facing forward the way that you're facing. Okay. Standing tall here. Bring your hands to your hips or your waist, whatever is comfortable for you, and engage through those legs. Stamp those feet into the ground. Engage through the leg. Reach your chest up, not puffed forward, just up, keeping a long spine here. Can you use that press of your hands on your hips to elongate your spine? It doesn't matter wherever your shoulders naturally are. Don't try to drop them back and down. Keep them where they are and find that engagement through the arms, pressing your hips down as you draw your head and chest up. All right, we're going to just come into this wide-legged forward fold, but we're going to reach the hands back behind us, and we are going to interlace like we normally would, but go the awkward way. So interlace your fingers behind your hips, keeping the heels of your hands or your wrists touching each other. So keeping your elbows bent, the heels of your hands together. Draw your shoulders up towards your ears, and then just widen them. So finding that without dropping your shoulders too much. You can drop a little bit, but not too much. Keeping the heels of your hands together, drawing those hands away from your hips instead of down. So sometimes we like to do the down and puff the chest up, keeping your knuckles in line with your tailbone, and just reach those hands off your hips back, towards the back of the room. And then start to shift your weight forward, bending your knees slightly here to come down any amount with a long spine. You can let your head hang heavy. You can keep your knuckles on your hips. Or if you'd like, see if you can reach your knuckles just up, just slightly off of your hips. Keeping those elbows bent so that the heels of your hands stay together. Reaching those hands up and off your hips any amount. Reaching them up. Breathing here, find your Ujjayi breath. Inhale, big belly breath in. Exhale, whispering in the throat. One more big breath here. And then release your hands to your hips. Come up halfway, half lift, and then all the way come to standing. Bring your hands to your hips. And then go ahead and look at the front of your mat. Spin your front leg towards the front of the room, and then just step up to a standing position. Back into our Tadasana mountain pose here. And then just step your right foot back. Any amount, just like whatever feels natural for you. I guess normally it's about 3 feet, but whatever feels natural. Stepping back. And then widen your stance. So move your right foot out to the right and your left foot out to the left a little bit, so that your feet are hip-width distance. Even though they're not in line with each other, they're about hip-width distance. And then see if your torso and your hips and everything is facing forward. Your toes are facing forward. Hands on your hips here, finding that length through the spine. And then go ahead and grab opposite elbows back behind your back. And here, as you grab the opposite elbows, don't just try to let your fingertips touch your elbows. But we're going to actively try to walk the fingers around the upper arms and up the upper arms. So really try to find a good grip. All right. Once you found a good grip, find the length in your spine again. Pressing into your feet. Engaging through the legs. Slight bends in the knees if you need. Reaching that chest forward. And then start to fold halfway over that left front leg. Halfway fold, keeping a long spine. Your head is now reaching towards the front of the room in line with your tailbone. And then start drawing those shoulders up to the ceiling. Keeping this grip, can you draw your shoulders up to the ceiling, not down towards your hips, just up to the ceiling. Staying here for another breath. Inhaling, big belly breath. Ujjayi, exhale. And then staying here or folding any more, keeping a long spine, and keep drawing those shoulders back. Folding any amount with a long spine. Knees can have slight bends. Don't hyperextend and lock them out. Engaging, reaching that front left hip up and back. One more breath here, big belly breath in. Exhale, Ujjayi. And then coming back up halfway, holding here for a moment. And then inhale all the way up to standing. Bring your feet in line with each other and release your hands. Whew, if your shoulders are feeling it, go ahead and do a little wiggle or a roll, whatever you need to do. Shake it out. Good. 2 more seconds. All right, coming back to standing, hands on your hips. Find the length through your spine, and then just natural step with your left foot back. Totally fine if your one leg wants to go further back than your other leg, or vice versa. We're not completely symmetrical on the legs, right? As long as your feet are about hips width distance, you can walk your right foot out to the right a little bit. Engaging through the legs, hips forward, pressing down on your hips to reach your spine long. And then go ahead and grab opposite elbows, opposite way. So what I like to do is I do it, go for it naturally. I'm like, okay, that's the natural way. And then I put the other arm on top. Make it real awkward. And then same thing like we did on the other side. Try to reach those fingers up your upper arms and around your upper arms. Gripping those arms tightly. And keeping your shoulders where they are. Don't try to drop your shoulders down. Keeping them naturally in line with your chest. And then start to engage here through the arms. So not relaxing through the grip, keeping that tight grip on your arms. Bending your knees just a teeny bit as you reach your head up. And then hinge at your hips over that right leg for a half fold over that right leg. Staying here halfway, start drawing those shoulders up to the ceiling, not back, just up to the ceiling as you're holding this grip. You can start to straighten the legs through engagement of the muscles, if that feels right. Finding that Ujjayi breath again. Breathing here. If you're pretty flexible and you'd like to fold over a little bit more, keeping a long spine, drawing that right hip up and back, keeping those arms engaged here, drawing those shoulders up to the ceiling. Breathing here. Finding that Ujjayi breath, big belly breath in. Whispering in the exhale. One more breath. And then inhale back to your calf lift. And come all the way up to standing. Release your hands, shake it out, bring your feet back towards each other. Shake out your shoulders, whatever you're gonna do. And then come to stillness. Drawing your fingers down here. And notice how drawing your fingers down drops those shoulders. And then up. We don't want to drop the shoulders, so let your shoulders find that natural place. And then just spin your palms forward. Drawing the shoulders back, not down. All right, sweep the arms up, overhead, look up. And exhale, hinge forward, come to your forward fold, belly and the thighs. Inhale for that half lift, fingertips to shins. Planting the hands, and as you exhale, step back to a plank, knees up or down, shifting through your version of a half push-up. Maybe chaturanga, elbows back, 90-degree angle. Inhale into your cobra or upward facing dog if you'd like. Just your hands and feet touch the ground. Wherever you are in cobra or upward facing dog, can you spin your fingers out? Press into your hands. Draw those shoulders back. Instead of down, just back. Breathing for one more breath. Big belly breath in. And then exhale. Shift your weight into downward facing dog. You can look forward at your hands. You can always come to your knees if you'd like. We're going to come up to a seated position. You can just drop your knees and sit yourself down. Or if you want to play around with trying to jump through your hands, you come up onto your tippy toes, bend your knees, look forward in between your hands, and then cross your ankles and come up into a seated position. Or coming down to your knees and shifting your legs forward. Okay, this is when you'll need your strap or your towel or whatever you've got. You could even just take your shirt off and use that. All right, so we're gonna cross our legs here. You can stack your ankles and knees here for kind of a pigeon position. Or if you'd like to come into full Gomukhasana, you're going to cross your knees over one another and feet out. You can always sit up on a block if it's not comfortable to sit in a seated position. So just crossing the right leg over the left here and sitting up tall, wherever you want to be. Just crossing at the shins, crossing at the ankles, or crossing at the knees. Sitting up tall here, go ahead and grab your strap. And you might not need it, but I always like to start with the strap, and if you don't need it, you can release it. And start reaching your left arm up to the sky. Let your shoulder reach up to your ear, right? And then widen. So shoulder up and then widen, not down. Keeping the rag or your strap in your left hand, reaching it up, and then start reaching your right hand. I like to go out, turn your palm face down, and then turn your palm back to the back of the room, and then spin it out, back behind you, and then once it's as far back as it can go, bend at the elbow to bring the back of your hand up your spine, any amount, pressing the back of your hand into the back of your chest, and then start to drop that left hand with the strap down to meet your right. And go ahead and grab the strap with your hands. If you can walk your fingers towards each other and you don't need the strap, that's fine too. Breathing here, chest up tall. And then if you'd like to fold over your legs any amount, keeping a long spine here. The fold is really what gets me in the shoulders, so be careful. Long spine here. Find that Ujjayi breath. One more breath. This is kind of uncomfortable, but as long as you don't feel pain, breathe with it. Can you reach that top left elbow back behind your head anymore? Away. Can you draw that right shoulder back, not down, back? And then come up to seated and release. However you want to get out of it, release the grip of your hand and your strap. Oh, bring that right arm back forward. Whew, yeah. All right, do a wiggle, do whatever you gotta do. And we're gonna switch the cross of our legs. So if you're in full Gomukhasana, you could do a pickup and spin, or just uncross your legs. If you wanna do a pickup and spin, it's pretty fun. So take your hand over towards your left hip, onto the ground, and bring your hips up and start stamping into your feet. Spin on your toes as you walk your hands over to the right, and then come back down and sit. It's just a fun little transition as you get out of it. So this time your left foot or your left knee is on top of your right foot or your right knee. Whatever kind of cross you want to do, if you want to stack your knees on top of each other, or if you want to cross at the ankles, wherever you are, it's good. Sit up tall, find a long spine, grab your strap with your right hand this time, and start reaching your right hand up to the sky with your strap, your towel, whatever you got. Reaching it up, and then reach that shoulder all the way up so that your shoulder maybe touches your ear, and then just widen. Don't drop the shoulder, just widen that shoulder out to the side. And then take your left hand, and I like to palm face forward, and then the palm face back, and then keep going until your hand is as far behind you as possible, and then bend at the elbow, back of your hand reaches up your back any amount, pressing the back of your hand into your back so much that you can maybe draw that left shoulder back towards your hand, not down, just back. And then bend that right elbow, grab the strap behind you with both hands. Sitting up tall here, can you draw that right elbow back and away from your head? Sometimes my right arm likes to touch my right head. Just draw it back and away. And then can you, without dropping your shoulder, just draw your left shoulder back, keeping so that maybe one day your shoulder can be in line with each other. Sitting up tall here with a long spine, you can fold over any amount or not at all. Breathing here, finding that Ujjayi breath. Inhaling deeply into the belly and exhaling that whisper in the back of your throat. Long spine here. One more breath. Make it the biggest breath yet. And as you're ready, bring your torso back upright. Release your hands. Whew. Shake it out, whatever you gotta do to your shoulders. And then uncross your legs. Bring the soles of your feet onto the ground in front of you. And then just slow roll your torso down. Just a little bit of a tiny bit of core at the end. I know. All right, come down to your back. You can let your legs straighten and flop out, or keep your knees bent, feet match with distance, and let your knees press against each other to hold them up, or legs straight. If you don't like Shavasana on your back, you can lay on your side or your belly. Now is the time to let your practice sink in and relax. Find some relaxation here. We're done working on those shoulder stretches. And release the control you had over your breath. Let it come naturally. If you want to sigh it out a few times, go for it. Or if you just want your breath to come back to its natural rhythm. Wherever you are, release the muscles around the eyes. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Have a little bit of space in between your teeth. If your mouth opens, fine, whatever. Let your head feel heavy in the mat. Let your shoulders feel heavy in the mat. Feel the weight of your hips and your legs in the mat. Letting gravity press yourself into the mat. Closing the eyes if you haven't already. You can always stay here as long as you want or need. And if you're ready, start wiggling the fingers and the toes, rolling through the wrists, the ankles, just gently bringing movement back into your body. Bring the soles of your feet behind your hips, maybe hugging your knees in one more time. Rocking side to side. Always rock and roll on your back, forward and back, up to seated. And sitting tall in whatever position is comfortable for you. Maybe crossing the legs, or sitting on your knees. Just to seal in all the goodness that we cultivated here. Bring your hands together, your palms pressing into one another, and just go ahead and rub them. Find a little bit of that warmth. And then press your left palm into your chest and your right palm on top of your left. Pressing that warmth into your heart. The light and warmth in me honors and respects the light and warmth in you. Or namaste. All right. Thank you, beautiful Lala.
Thank you.
And thanks for tuning in, my virtual peeps out there. Give me a hey. Good, yeah, the shoulders. They kill. So, thanks for tuning in. As always, the online classes here are free or by donation. So if you have the means and you'd like to donate via Venmo at Ed Weezer, I then donate 10% to the Buckeye Tree Lodge for letting us use this space, and then 50% to a different charity each week. So if you would like to donate, and you can always recommend different charities to donate to, and you can always recommend any sequences, poses, or themes, anything you would like for next week. This is a every Tuesday kind of class. And you can check out my website. I put the link there if you want to see any more yoga or meditation. I'm doing meditation twice a week, Monday and Friday evenings with a group of yoga teachers. So we all take turns so you can get other people's styles as well. And with that, I will stop rambling. So have a great day.